Aloha and welcome to the Savvy Luminary, an astrology podcast for entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Leslie Tagorda, a brand astrologer, designer, and spiritual business owner who has helped hundreds of businesses and nonprofits go from stuck to unstoppable. I am here to inspire you to make confident and focused moves that shine the light on your business through astrological insight, brand strategy, and interviews with other spiritual business leaders. I believe you are here to share your magic and shine brightly like the luminary you are meant to be. Okay, let's dig into this week's episode. Hello, everybody. It's Leslie Tagorda, your brand astrologer and designer. And here today, we are going to be talking about building your standout brand with astrology. Yes, we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of why I really love astrology and how I use it for branding, right? So I'm curious, do you find yourself struggling with a way to express your unique gifts and your value to the world, like what you really do? Do you wish you were able to stand out so you could charge more, be seen as the expert, and be the one person that people think of when they're talking about your field and your industry? Well, what if I told you that your stars already hold the keys so that you can step out as the luminary that you really are? Right? That you already hold the keys to communicating your exact value without trying to compare or copy a colleague or competitor, and that you already have it within you to show up authentically, expertly, and visibly in your own power. Your keys are waiting to be recognized. And in this episode, I want to go over the foundational keys that you need to unlock to create your brand that is uniquely you and completely magnetic to your ideal customer. What we're going to cover today is what a brand really is, what happens when you don't have a crystallized brand, the 3 astrological keys to illuminate your brand, and astrological highlights for entrepreneurs for the week of March 1st and 7th, 2020. So before we get into today's episode, I wanted to share a stress-inducing experience that turned into a win for me this week, right? We're still in Mercury retrograde. For those of you that have been following, we're almost at the tail end. And there was definitely the apex of the Mercury retrograde that happened earlier this week. And this happened to be on a day that I was giving an astrological reading, an astrobrand reading. And I must say that astrobrand readings are one of my favorite things to do, to meet one-on-one with people, to go over their unique energetic keys. Oh, but this one is a little bit of a stress point because I was giving an astrobrand reading to a fellow astrologer. Right? Giving astrology readings to a fellow astrologer always kind of ups the game for me a little bit, puts a little bit of stress, because a fellow astrologer, they know what you're really talking about. They know the different points. And of course, we all come with different lenses and different filters. So we're approaching it from different places. So this fellow astrologer, she's a life coach, and she has this fabulous vision of how to bring our soul's purpose into the work we do. And me, being a business astrologer and one that has a lot of branding experience, I was looking at her chart in the terms of how to bring more visibility to her story and to her business, right? So we're approaching it in a little different way, but it was still a little bit stressful. Right. So when I was looking at her chart, we were assessing her branding and communication keys and looking at her website and the kind of the disconnect that was happening that I saw. And so I prescribed her an action plan to improve her website according to her design. And it was so much fun. The stressful situation, I came in being a little bit nervous, but I left with feeling really empowered because she gave me the best testimonial. What she told me was, I love the practicality of my lens into astrology. Me, meaning Leslie. I think you're into something really big. I truly think that this is fantastic. There's so many entrepreneurs out there who are wanting to find their way of calling in their ideal customers. Some people don't know how to get at that, but you have a way of getting at the essence of that so easily, which I think is fantastic. And I love how it brings out your Aquarian innovativeness. That's my Aquarian innovativeness. You're doing this outside of the box and you're doing branding from a whole new way. Oh my gosh, you have no idea how happy that made me feel. So let's talk about doing branding in a new way and how I discovered it. Okay, so I'm not sure if you've heard my story before, and in case you have, I'm going to tell it again. But I have been doing web design and branding since 2004. And before 2004, during the first.com, I was doing web design. I have a whole ton of years in the industry, right? And when I went out on my own right after my Saturn return, I was running this business for about 15 years, building websites for hundreds of women-owned businesses and nonprofits and startups and everything. And for most of that 15 years, actually for like almost all of those 15 years until just very recently, I was really pricing very low because I wanted everybody to afford it. I didn't want to seem like I was so expensive and so special. I never shared my portfolio. In fact, I remember I had like some referrals come to me and they're like, well, where's your website? Like, where's your portfolio? I can't hire you. And I was like, huh, that makes sense. But I never shared my portfolio. Like, honestly, of like pretty much like 10 of those 15 years, I didn't even have a website that I was proud of, that I wanted to show, that like actually had my work. Like, how ridiculous. I would always kind of like put it off like, oh, the cobbler's kids have no shoes. So, the web designer doesn't have a website. And pretty much I suffered and shuffled through this for like 15 years, right? It's really amazing through all of this that I actually maintained my team. Like, it's not just me, like I have a team of really amazing people that work with me, and I paid my bills in this very expensive city of San Francisco. And it's not that my work was bad. Actually, my work was really amazing. Like, we put together these really functional websites that not only were functional, they were beautiful and gorgeous and vibrant, and they were action oriented, meaning that they accomplished all the goals and the calls to actions that, were necessary. And my clients, they were really amazing. Like, so many women owned businesses, so many nonprofits. And it's a special place being kind of this consultant working on design and websites, because websites, the purpose of a website is really kind of to concisely encapsulate everything about a brand in this like one hub. And of course, over 15 years, websites have definitely evolved, and I love seeing the transformation in websites. But when you're putting a website together, you're really putting all of your business out there and like really guiding the audience who visits that website to go onto a specific journey about your business. So working with clients when we're doing their websites or their brands, I heard all of their big dreams. I heard of the vision that they had for their business, how they wanted to be seen, but I also witnessed massive, massive struggles, because essentially when you're putting a brand out there, when you're putting your website out there, we're putting these things out there to be visible. But it's very surprising that although we innately know that we need to be visible, we really struggle with this. And when I say we, I'm mostly talking about women entrepreneurs, but also for some men entrepreneurs that, who have experienced this kind of place in their lives where they were told that they were not good enough. So basically, after 16 years of doing design for entrepreneurs and nonprofits, I feel like I've seen the same patterns repeat themselves over and over again. And honestly, the patterns that I've seen in my customers were a reflection of me and where I was at in my business. So one of the greatest hits, broken records of women getting stuck in their business was that I would find so many women who would finish their beautiful websites or their logos, their visual identities, and they would do absolutely nothing with it. We are way past the time where you would build a website and people would come. Right now, websites are hubs where we have to constantly drive traffic to websites, promote the website so that people can see what we're offering. And with social media, again, websites now just become like a home-based hub for all of the channels. But what I would see is that women would build these websites, it takes so much effort to build these websites, and they would do nothing with it. They wouldn't go out to network. They wouldn't go out to promote. They wouldn't post on social. They just sat on their website, never doing a thing with it, never bringing their offering into the world. Like all of that effort for what, right? Or alternatively, I would have clients who would take years years to finish websites. And I'm not exaggerating that it would take years. And I want to let you know that this wasn't because we weren't on the game. Like, we'd be sending emails about like, can we get your content? Can we get your graphics? Can we get your images? And never hear from customers. There, I would hear all kinds of things of like, I don't have time, I don't know what to say, I'm overwhelmed with all these other things. But for whatever reason, these women would not prioritize improving their website and the way that their brand was being seen. They were thoroughly stuck. And because that they were stuck, they could never pivot. They could never grow their business. Instead, just kind of like circling and like being on that kind of hamster wheel of overwhelm because they just couldn't finish. Or alternatively, they would have a beautiful website or brand that they would never hit that kind of publish button. There's no real publish button, but they would never like actually launch it live. It would sit on like kind of the sandbox test server forever because it wasn't yet perfect. Now, let me tell you, perfect, there's no such freaking thing as perfect. Perfect is unattainable. Perfect is like size 00 jeans. There might be a couple of people that can actually wear double zeros, but for most of us, that's just like not the real thing. And there's no such thing like a website ever being finished. As you know, a website is a dynamic piece of our marketing collateral. It should be always changing as our business changes. Or with a logo, I've had like customers like obsess over like a single pixel, right? In the grand scheme of things, these little things don't even matter. And they just served as a bigger excuse of not finishing and not showing up. And if you don't show up, how can you share all of your talents, right? You remain invisible. Another thing that I've always seen is I'm going to start my website or my next branding project when. So always putting off the next big thing in your business that's really going to move the needle forward until some other trigger happens. This to me is just another excuse of staying small, because if we're just continually waiting for some unexpected thing to maybe happen, or some big move that we really need to make to move forward, and we're just waiting and waiting and waiting, well, gosh, I've seen this happen too. I've been in this business for so long. I've seen women tell me, oh, next year. And then I hear from them again, oh, next year. Oh, next year. And 3 or 4 years later, they're still working with the same site that they built in 1990. So do any of these sound familiar to you? It's when we're stuck in these places, we can't commit to taking the next step in our business. We can't commit to making a bigger impact. And I'm not here to shame anyone. Like, I want you to understand, I'm not here to tell these stories to shame anyone. I'm here telling these stories because if you have experienced any of these things, I want you to know that you're not alone. Like I was saying, in fact, I was stuck in this same pattern for 15 years. And probably this is why I was attracting those types of customers at the same time, because I was the same thing. I wasn't showing up. I wasn't doing my website. I wasn't putting my portfolio out there. I wasn't going to networking events. I wasn't doing any of these things. And same like my clients, we were barely surviving. Like, we were just like being so overwhelmed, doing everything, but we were not thriving. And I was like this for 15 years. And I don't want you to make this same mistake. Because what it comes down to is that women get stuck because they don't really believe that they have something important to bring into the world. They don't believe in their value. And they don't have confidence in their value because they haven't done the work to clarify their vision, to find their voice, and to open themselves up to the opportunities that are honestly, they're just waiting. These opportunities are waiting for you once you decide to take that first big, scary step and believe in yourself. So it's these struggles that keep us stuck and invisible. It's actually systemic. It's no wonder that for so long, women and other business leaders who, I hate to say it, who are not white males, have been told that we are not good enough. You might have been seeing the video that has been making the internet rounds lately. The video is called Be a Lady, they said, and it's narrated by the Sex and the City actress Cynthia Nixon. I have a link up on the Savvy Luminary. You can go there to check out the video. But what this video does and provides is it's giving us all of the contrarian messages that we have been constantly fed since the beginning of time, honestly. Well, maybe not the beginning of time, but at least since the beginning of the United States time. And I'm recording this from San Francisco in the United States. You know, the messages that we are constantly hearing and being fed are be beautiful, but not too beautiful. Be smart, but not too smart. Be attractive, but not too attractive. People, the system, marketing, and like kind of old school advertising has always been telling us to not shine brightly, to not be visible, to not be heard, unless it's for the benefit of a man. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. And so when we honestly look at what keeps us small, right? We might have heard stories from our parents or our family about not shining too brightly. And sometimes, you know, those stories, they trickle down on us, you know, and they're meant to protect us. But honestly, what are we protecting? When we don't finish our branding projects, we keep invisible. When we don't contribute to our communities, we fail to share our wisdom. And when we don't do the self investment and assessment of where our true expertise lay, we lurk in self doubt and low self confidence, right? And the system would love to keep us there. But this is where things need to change. I want us all to get over, like, let me take that back. I want us to all understand and work through these fears. These fears really do, they serve, and we're never truly ever going to get over all of our fears. But the more that we work through them, the more that we can stand up and stand out. So if you have a fear of standing out, maybe you were told at an early age to not shine brightly, I want you to have the confidence to stand out. I want you to feel confident in sharing your power. And by sharing your power means sharing your knowledge, right? Oftentimes, maybe we're scared about sharing our knowledge because maybe we're afraid that somebody might copy us or take our ideas, right? That is a product of scarcity. But we live in an abundant world. We want to share our knowledge. The more we share our knowledge, people see us as experts. Or maybe your fear of standing out comes from the fear of not being enough, not being good enough, smart enough, valued enough, experienced enough, right? And I'm here to tell you that that is false. You are an expert at something. You are great at something. And so how do we turn those thoughts of self-doubt into thoughts of belief and confidence and courage? Or another reason why sometimes we might not stand out is because maybe we have this fear of not being accepted or understood, this idea of shame, that we're too different, that people will never understand us. Well, there's never been a better time to be too different, because through social media and through places online and even offline, there are these great communities that are thriving of people that have like-minded interests. I know you're not alone in your feelings of being different, and you can probably find a whole community of people that would love to embrace your differences. So I want us to change this dialogue that goes through our head about this fear of not standing out. I get it. It's vulnerable to stand out, but what is the cost? Honestly, think about that. What is the cost for you to not stand up and stand out as a luminary? Honestly, it's your turn to shine brightly, and I want to show you how. So the first thing is, yes, you need a strong brand, but your brand is not your logo. Your logo is part of your visual identity, but your brand is way more than looks. You know that. You might have gone on some hot dates and like you met like this hot person and you're like, woohoo, yes. And you can't really go on a second or a third date with them because they have nothing more to offer than just their looks. So if your brand is all about just looks, then more than likely your brand is not going to do very well. We need to have more than our looks, and our visual identity needs to be the reflection of the whole package of our brand. So while it's a mistake to start off with looks, I know that there are some of us here that feel that they really need this visual identity in order to manifest the rest of their brand. I get it. You can do that if you're one of those people, but just to let you know, you cannot just stop with your logo. That is not your brand. Your brand is the experience that somebody has with your business. And if we dig down into that experience, it's created from all of the touch points that somebody has with your business. We don't know how people are going to come to our business because there's so many channels. It could be social media, it could be website, it could be referrals, it could be you showing up at a networking event. It could also be just the way that you send out emails, customer service, your onboarding process, the gifts that you send. All of these cumulative experiences package your brand, and these experiences give off a feel. And you've heard the expression that nobody remembers what you say, they remember how you make them feel. How is your business making someone feel? So if we can think about the experience that somebody has with your business, we want to create a feeling. And that feeling, when we give them that feeling over and over and over again, it creates a lasting impression of your business. And this is the overall package of your business. And this is what I call your customer experience or your brand. So your standout brand has a few essential needs. Your brand needs to have a clear and aligned set of values that you share regularly. It also has to have a personality of its own that really resonates with your soul customers. Your brand also needs to have a very solid and clear why you do what you do, and why you need to be doing this right here and now. Your brand also needs to be super clear on who your soul customer is, who you are meant to serve, and how you are supposed to solve their problems, their goals. Your brand also needs to have clear differentiators, what makes you very unique, why people should choose you. And of course, without saying, your brand needs to be very slick in what you do and how you do it. So I've packaged all of these brand needs into a three-part framework that crystallizes your brand. The first part of the framework is creating a clear vision. This is integrating your purpose and positioning you to differentiate you uniquely in the marketplace. After that, we then create a strong voice that allows you to create messaging that resonates your brand personality and story, that magnetizes your ideal customer. And then the last part is creating an impressive style. And this is putting your looks, your design, together with your systems in a seamless way that supports your vision and voice. And yes, this framework is a very practical way of doing branding, but the way that I get it more specific and precise and unique to you is that I use astrological insight. You know that I love using astrology and putting together a branding framework for people because astrology can be so specific. And as I mentioned in the 7 ways entrepreneurs can use astrology, a previous podcast, we talk about the psychological archetypes that we can use to build our brands. So, when we're building a brand with astrology, we use 3 foundational pillars that we can build everything else from. When we have our 3 foundational pillars, it will then inform our other communication, leadership, and other value oriented keys, giving us a holistic package of our entire brand. I've been offering this framework for over a year now, and I've had dozens of customers go through this process, and I've seen them do some amazing things. When my customers go through this Astro Brand framework, they step into their power because they know their true value. They end up doing amazing things. Then when they step into their power, they start to stand up and show up as a contributing leader in their communities. They start to share their expertise because they're so confident now in their expertise. And as they share in their communities, they start to stand out as the luminary they are as they build their own platform and community, therefore expanding their reach. And this process of self-investment and self-knowledge and self-actualization, it continues. We evolve as one becomes more clear, more confident, and more courageous. We have to then go back and redo these things over and over again as we build our visibility. It's so beautiful. So, here are the 3 foundational keys to illuminate your brand. Just like in astrology, we are more than just our sun sign. We are multifaceted, and this unique way of faceting for brilliance, impact, and reach can also be used for our brands. Our brands are not a one size fits all. All right. That's what makes astrology such a great tool for branding. Now, the 3 pillars are the sun, moon, and rising. And, I suspect that most of you here are astrology buffs. And so you know what these things are and you know how they work together. But I'm just going to go through them from the lens of branding. Right? The sun sign represents the soul of our brand. This is what we radiate and naturally do well. Our sun sign represents our innate creative force and our superpower. We must be aware of the value of our innate gifts, and the sun points to that. Not only the zodiac sign, but also the house placement. It gives us kind of the place of the field of depth of where our creative energies do best. And you also might have planetary aspects that modify your creative force. So, at the heart and soul of what we do is our sun sign. And then we build out upon that. Our moon sign represents what I call our inner brand. This is the part of our brand that people may or may not see, but they can definitely sense it. This is kind of our MO, our motivation, why we do what we do, and how we desire to be seen in our field. It's our sense of emotional security. And I know we don't talk a lot about emotional security in business, but we need to, because emotions trigger us how we're going to make the risky moves, right? If we're not feeling secure, we won't do the big things that we need to do to grow and drive our business forward. We need to claim and tell others how we want to be seen in order to honor our moon sign and our inner brand. And then, of course, our rising sign, also known as our ascendant, is the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at the time that we were born. And so it's really important that you know the time that you were born, because the rising sign is also the first house cusp, and it sets the house system for the rest of the chart. But through our rising sign, this is how others experience us. The sun and the moon are kind of internal, and our rising sign is how others experience us. It's our ability to lead in an authentic and likable way. It helps with our know, like, and trust factor. And we must learn to guide our clients from this energy. And our rising sign is a magnetic key to our ideal customers. So even when we just know these three keys, it gives us a strong foundation from which to build the rest of our brand. And the rest of our brand, based on these three foundational keys, can help us inform our communication and visual style, who our ideal customers are and their struggles and their goals, and really the value, the true gift of our transformational impact. Of course, astrology can also inform us how we are supposed to deliver our offerings and so much more. So if you're interested in learning more about your unique differentiators and how you can stand out as the luminary you are, I offer single and multi-session astro brand readings where we meet one-on-one to go over your branding keys and create an action plan for you to align different parts of your branding and marketing materials to your stars. So if you're interested in this, you can go to thesavvyluminary.com/astrobrand. In May, I'll be opening up my flagship offering, a year-long immersion where you'll learn everything you need to create the vision, voice, and style for your brand so you can stand out as the luminary you're meant to be. If you want to get on the wait list, you can go to thesavvyluminary.com/rising. And if you want to get started right now for no cost at all, and you want to know what your one next step is in creating your standout brand, take my self-assessment and answer 21 yes or no questions. I know 21 seems like a lot, but they're just yes or no questions. So you can get your result of the one thing that you need to work on first before you take any next step in your branding journey. And you can find that also at thesavvyluminary.com/quiz. Again, I'm here to help those of you who want to stand out in the field and be a visible, contributing expert in your community. Are you ready to stand out and shine brightly? All right, let's dig into the astrology highlights for entrepreneurs for the week of March 1st through March 7th. Can you believe it's already March in 2020? We're still in Mercury retrograde, the last part of Mercury retrograde. And on Wednesday, March 4th, Mercury makes its re-entry into Aquarius. So we're still in retrograde season, and we will be in retrograde until March 9th. But as Mercury was transiting Pisces, it went back into Aquarius, and it'll be there until March 16th. So Mercury goes station on the 9th, meaning it stops to move forward on March 9th, which is awesome. We're going to talk all about that in a couple of weeks. But for now, it's going to be in Aquarius from March 4th until March 16th. When Mercury is in Aquarius, it's forward thinking, it's inquisitive, it's innovative, it's observant. And I'd like you to use up this time to churn up new ideas for how to implement all of those learning things that you've discovered during the retrograde that will bring ease and flow into your work. The theme of this Mercury retrograde is still ease and flow, but as it goes into Aquarius, it's going to bring up new ideas for how to bring in ease and flow, innovative ideas. For me, I'm going to be using this energy to reinvent my flagship program that I spoke about earlier, and I'm looking forward to discovering what needs to come forth while I create this innovative program so I can bring more ease, flow, and fun into this program. Also on March 4th, Venus enters Taurus at 10:07 p.m. Eastern and 7:07 p.m. Pacific. After being away from home in Aries, Venus returns home to Taurus to create some physical comfort and security. I mentioned earlier that Venus doesn't really like being in Aries. That's not its home base. It's a contrarian area for Venus. So as it moves into Taurus, it's going to feel much more comfortable. You're going to feel way more connected. So if you've been thinking about new ways to bring in more stability in terms of income and cash flow in your business, Venus will support you as it is in its home base of Taurus. At the time Venus enters Taurus, it will be activated by Saturn, our energy of systems, of restrictions. And what it's really asking you is to create structures of sustainability around your cash saving. Stability and sustainability are your keys for this as you look to build financial security. And also, with this energy, Uranus will be really close to Venus and will be blending with that energy, asking you to look for innovative ways to build your wealth. How can you do things differently than you were doing before? Maybe something that's been on your mind is financial freedom, or maybe even it's not just about the finances, it's about how to bring more time freedom into your business. Yes. So, how will you build it? Make a plan for how to build more freedom into your time and finances and take an action step towards that plan to utilize this energy while Venus remains in Taurus. Next week, we'll be talking all about the Virgo full moon. A Virgo full moon will happen on the 9th, the same day that Mercury stations direct. So make sure to capture that episode so we can celebrate all of the wins that we have received. It's really wonderful that the new moon and the full moon this season have really aligned with our Mercury retrograde, really supporting us as we take this new direction to bring more ease and flow into our businesses. So I'll catch you next week to talk all about the full moon in Virgo and Mercury going direct again. And if you're still looking to build your brand but are overwhelmed by what next step to take, remember, I have my quiz, and it's a self-assessment and an easy way to find out the one next strategic step to create your standout brand. In a series of 21 yes or no questions, you'll uncover your next move so you can show up for more brilliance, impact, and reach. And you can find that at thesavvyluminary.com/quiz. Until then, talk to you soon. Bye. Mahalo for listening to this brand new podcast. If you enjoyed learning about astrology for entrepreneurs, help me spread the word by sharing this podcast with your business besties, and hop over to The Savvy Luminary for links to episode notes and our free Facebook community where you can send me questions about astrology or branding, as well as connect with other like-minded businesses.